What's up, Tyler?
Hi there.
Keith, plugged on. We're here with an album review. This time the new album from the band Ensiferum, titled Two Paths. This is their 7th album. This is on Metal Blade Records in the follow-up to One Man Army from 2015. Ensiferum, they're a folk metal band. They've been around for a long time now. They started a long time ago, back in like 2001 with Yari, who is now in Winter Sun, but much different lineup now. Ensiferum's been kicking a lot of ass though their entire career, and One Man Army was fucking awesome.
It was like one of my favorite albums. I think it was my favorite album of 2015.
Yeah. It's an album that I thoroughly enjoy, and I feel, post Yari, I feel that album might be one of their strongest ones. So very much looking forward to their new one. What do you think?
I really like this one. This one, kind of in a similar thing to what happened with One Man Army. This might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite albums of this year. I really like it because, I think it stands up to what the precedent that they set with their last album. Because when you look at Unsung Heroes, which was the album before that, and then the jump from One Man Army, it's like this huge jump, I feel, in terms of songwriting quality and whatnot. And this album, whereas the jumps aren't as big, they're still pretty significant with a lot of the stuff. I mean, the biggest thing, which is easy to talk about, is the fact that there's a lot more clean vocal sections. Now, Ensiferum's done clean vocals before, mostly during choruses and things like that. Songs like Into Battle and In My Sword I Trust come to mind, where that's how the songs are done. But now it's you have Two Paths, the title track, Don't You Say, and then God Is Dead, and even spots in King of Storms, where it's straight up clean vocals, which is
not
different.
The chanty sort of ones,
just straight up. I'm not sure who it is in the band.
Marcus.
Dead.
I'm not.
Marcus. We'll go with Marcus. So that's really cool because that's again them expanding on their sound. Don't You Say is a very different song, I feel, to Ensiferum, but I like it a lot. I really like just the chorus is really catchy. It's probably one of the catchiest choruses from this album, and then everything about it and the verse is cool. I also think that there's either it's there or it's a bit more noticeable than the last album. There's a lot of folk, a lot more folk elements on this album. Every song kind of starts off with stuff like that. I mean, Feast with Valkyries starts off very folky and has a very folky feel. So does Don't You Say. God Is Dead are songs that have a very the folk elements are very much more prominent. But then there's also stuff that from their previous albums, where King of Storms and for those who are about to fight for metal are very thrashy kind of riffs, but they're still the folk elements, and I really like that. There's all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's the big almost symphonic elements that kind of came in with on the last album with kind of One Man Army kind of has that. There's still a lot of that on this album. And I think that there's not really any, maybe besides 2 or 3 songs towards the end portion of the album, I don't feel like there's really all that many weak songs on this album. The first, not counting the intro, I'd say the first 6 tracks are all great, and then there's still more tracks that are great after that. And so this is just a very strong album. I also just found it interesting, at least on Spotify, that they have, there's alternate versions of God Is Dead and Don't You Say, which just replaced the clean vocals with the screams, which I feel I like the clean vocals better. I just feel it fits, but I can see where maybe some people are yeah, I'm just going to listen to the scream version because this is Ensiferum. This stuff, it's a little too weird. But I like it. Anymore, I feel a lot of bands are too timid to try to push and go beyond what they are. And the fact that Ensiferum is still, after all these years, still finding new ways to be creative with their music is great. So like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed this album.
Yeah, I like this album a lot too, and I think it's good because Ensiferum it's still them, but they're finding ways to just kind of push their sound and to be something different from album to album, and that's awesome. When the first track came out, for those about to fight for metal, I was this is good, but I wasn't too blown away with it like I was for like One Man Army or In My Sword I Trust off their past albums. So I wasn't super excited for this album. I'm like, it's a new Ensiferum album. They always seem to knock it out of the park and put out quality stuff. And I think For Those About to Fight for Metal is a great opening track, and I think it's much better surrounded by other great tracks too, because it sets everything off, on the right foot. I think that track and Way of the Warrior are kind of two traditional Ensiferum songs that are fun. They have big choruses, they have tight riffs, lots of melodic guitars, and it's cool. But then you get to like Two Paths and Don't You Say, like Keith said, they're clean vocals, but they're not the big chanty sort of sounding vocals where there's multiple vocal tracks or multiple people singing along. It's just one straight vocal track, and that's great. And I think Don't You Say might be the catchiest chorus of the fucking year. That chorus is incredibly catchy. I actually woke up with Two Paths stuck in my head this morning, which I think is a good thing. If you get something stuck in somebody's head, they're going to want to listen to it over and over and over again to kind of relive that, and that's a good thing. And those two songs, I think, are two of the more different songs, but they're not. They're still Ensiferum. They still have a folky sort of sound to them, and that's cool. It's just totally different with the vocals, and I think it's something that totally works. And I applaud them for doing that, because you see some bands that try to completely change, like Suicide Silence. I don't think it works. Or you have a band like Hundredth that is completely changed to something that I think is way more interesting than what they were before. Then you have some bands that are just kind of changing within their sound, and Ensiferum is one of them, and I think they're pulling it off in a pretty cool way. And there's other just really great tracks on here. I think Feast with Valkyries is one of the more fun ones. Same with King of Storms. It's a really cool album, and I don't know if it's better than One Man Army. I need to listen to both of them back to back to really tell, but I think it's a quality album for sure. I'm glad Ensiferum's not just sticking with this is what we are. We're a folk metal band. We have a lot of melodic guitars and a lot of accordions and all that stuff. That they're trying some new stuff and still keeping it interesting. I like that. A lot of people don't like Ensiferum post Yari, but I think they're kind of missing out, to be honest with you.
I think it's better, like just in general.
I think it's catchier.
Because like it's. I mean, for one, they're basically different bands in a lot of ways, but like I find myself coming back to this era Ensiferum more than I do their first two albums. Like,
yeah, I do too.
Completely.
Yeah, I mean, I think those two albums are good, and they do have some. It's probably some of the best Ensiferum songs, but it's just not what I think of with Ensiferum anymore.
Yeah.
Plus I think if I want to listen to Yari influenced music, Winter Sun is fucking miles better than both of their debut albums, and I think there's both albums are good. That's my opinion. But yeah, Ensiferum with Two Paths, I think, is good. I think it's got a really great production to it too. It sounds fucking phenomenal. Like everything about it. It's great.
This was a thought, and maybe I'm coming out of left field with this. I got, with the clean vocals and like the even more gruff style that's in a couple spots, I got a very early James Hetfield vibe from it. Like, if he was, Swedish.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I was just kind of like...
A little bit.
That's kind of what I picked up from it.
For Two Paths, to me, it just screams Amorphous. And they had the singer of Amorphous on their last album. I forget the track, but he did some guest vocals on it. But it screams Amorphous in terms of sound and feeling and vibes. It's cool. But yeah, I can see that too. It's cool. I hope they do it more. I hope they don't abandon like harsh vocals or the big chanty sort of stuff like they have For Those About to Fight for Metal. I hope that they do more of the just straightforward clean stuff and just find a great balance, because you're just going to keep it way more interesting and it gives you way more options from song to song.
Yeah, I'd say maybe keep it about where it's at. Maybe the only thing I would say is maybe have a bit more of like a mix. Maybe the only downside of this album, it seems like when they decide to do clean vocals, they go all in. And
Yeah, it's
like,
just kind of like one.
Which is why there's kind of like the two versions of the songs. Like maybe with like Don't You Say, like the verse is sung and then the chorus is the screamed, or some version like that.
Yeah.
Which who knows? Who knows who since they have alternate versions, who knows how they do it live or anything like that.
Yeah, who knows? So yeah, of course.
I'd give it a 9. I really like this album. I like it a lot.
8.5 for me. It is great. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think of Two Pads from Ensiferum. See you later.